I'm having a hot cocoa.
Slay.
This is good.
You like my hot chocolate?
I think it's because it's like the double dark. Like, you know, whatever. This is good.
Okay. Why do you call it hot cocoa? Is there a difference?
Hot chocolate?
Uh-huh.
Hot cocoa.
Yeah. Is that just like a thing that you say?
I think it's like chocolate. I don't understand. Wait, what?
Like, I would never call it hot cocoa because I'm like from the 21st century. But is it like a thing that people say in the States? Like if you go to a place?
Yes.
People say hot cocoa.
You know, in Gilmore Girls, when like, well, this is arguably not Gilmore Girls. It's because it's, well, I guess actually it's only the 5th season.
Oh, right. Because you have a thing with what's her face with the top hats.
Yes. Jess comes back. And
what's her name?
Amy Sherman Palladino.
Amy Sherman Palladino. I don't have 3 names. I only have 2.
Yes, that's true. Jess comes back. It's like the episode Jess comes back. And they're like talking about like hot cocoa, froyo.
Yeah.
Like these words.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I've just always called it hot cocoa.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hot chocolate.
That's fine. I was just wondering if it's like a thing there.
It's, yeah. I don't know though. That's what I mean. I don't know if it's just me or if
Is
it's
it
like
just you?
I mean, obviously
like, to
other
me,
people
hot
call
cocoa
it.
is like from the 18th century. It's like, come warm your bones by an old stove.
Yeah. Interesting.
Come in, traveler.
That's how I feel like, but I feel like hot chocolate is that.
To me, hot cocoa is Trisha Paytas doing her. Have you seen that? Oh my God, they're so funny. What is she? There's like a fucking hair. I left the mics out on the bed for a day. They've been in my house for 24 hours and they're fucking covered in hair. What does she call it? She calls it like Trisha's Tavern. That's what they're called, Trisha's Tavern.
Oh,
She'll
I've
be
seen
like,
them.
welcome,
Oh my God.
traveler.
Yes,
but like her accent's like all over the place. I love it.
That's what I really liked about when we saw O'Mary, that scene, like the tavern scene, like the bar scene.
Yeah.
Their accents were insane. They
Yeah.
were all over the place. It's like, where are we in space and time?
I love it.
Anyways, well, that's weird because I feel like the like hot chocolate would be like formal. Some way.
I don't know. What do I know? But I just
Interesting.
think it's funny.
Okay. Well, it's very good.
I'm
And
glad
I
you
agree.
enjoy.
Dandy's marshmallows.
Yes, we were
for
having
the
this
win.
conversation. I think that there's like a few things that are better vegan. And I think vegan marshmallows. I will concede. I will always say this. Vegan cheese, a Nightmare Factory.
Yeah. I mean, look, what are we here to do?
Yeah.
Eat some, some cheese. Yeah.
Although my mother-in-law. Did I tell you this? We had it at my birthday party. My mother-in-law made vegan blue cheese. She like
We had that at your birthday party?
that was the blue cheese that was out.
Oh my God.
She ordered like a Saint-Agur cheese culture and she like made it for like months.
I feel like I tried that and it was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
That's
so it was
weird.
good.
Interesting. Okay.
Anyway, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here. This is our first ever secret episode.
Yes.
Secret episode. What do we call it? Well, it's an artist study episode, but they're going to be behind the scenes. So it's just us. It's just us girlies here.
Just us artists.
Just us girlies. Just us artists. Today we're going to talk about. I'm so fucking excited.
I'm really excited because you have been on it.
I have been
for a while.
I've been saying we were going to do this episode for like months.
Yeah.
And then Doechii won her Grammy just last weekend. And I'm like, which I feel a little bit like, oh, we should have gotten this out before him. But anyway,
the world is hell.
The world is hell.
Can we just?
But we have Doechii.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever fallen in love. And I know this is me saying this. Like, I know I fall for things hard and fast and deep. But I don't think I've ever been obsessed with somebody so quickly in my entire life. And I think that speaks to how like captivating she's
quite captivating. That's a good word.
Like as a performer, like you can't like striking, like you can't look away.
Yeah, there are those people that like you can't look away from.
Yeah,
and, like there's only certain people that have that.
Yeah. So today, welcome to Artist Study. We're talking about Doechii. I'm so fucking excited. I found her stuff recently. Like I fell in love with her with her Tiny Desk concert, which was like just a couple of months ago, really. And I think that's when Alligator Bites came out. Like right when it came out, like a couple of months ago, that's where I found Doechii. But she's been around for a minute. She's young. but she's been around for a minute.
You told me that she was so young.
She's not as young. I think she's like maybe like 28 or something like that.
I mean,
I know, young.
That's young.
I know. Us olds, us crusty old 30-somethings.
I mean, for what she's doing.
For what she's doing, for what she's made. Yeah. So actually, you know what I didn't get? You know what I don't, it's funny. What do I want to say? People's legal names, when I hear, like, you know, I have friends that have like, what do you call that? Is it a pseudonym? Is that what you call it?
Like a stage name.
Or a stage name or something like that. I have friends, when I find out they're like legal names, sometimes I'm like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Who the fuck is
the
that?
Government who? Like, what?
I was right. She's 26.
Oh my gosh.
Math was wrong. Sorry, my math was wrong because I knew that she was born in 98, and I thought the difference between 98 and 94 was 2 years.
No, that's 4 years.
It's 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah. So never mind. She is really young, and I am old. So yeah, Doechii, she kind of came onto the scene in 2016. She released her first, she was a SoundCloud artist. That's how she started her debut song called Girls, that she released herself. So she self-funded, self-released, produced, whatever you call it. Her debut EP in 2020 as well. I think she's like a fascinating artist and somebody who, what I love about Doechii is, and I feel like you can see this in her performances, is like she is a student of her craft. Like she's a student of hip hop. She is referencing so much constantly, and I think that's what makes it so, like, when I say the word captivating, is because it's like there's so much going on that layered. You're like, where do I even start? In this. So yeah, I wanted to talk about Doechii as our first artist study, because I just feel like there's so much that, not like you can just learn from her as an artist, but I just think culturally what she's doing is like quite significant right now, where we're at.
Interesting.
In like music and like pop culture.
I was listening to Alligator Bites, I guess is her album, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of it like coming up here. Mm-hmm. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because I feel like even like, again, as someone who's like, hip hop, I don't have like a huge, whatever knowledge,
I wouldn't really say I do either.
Yeah.
I like Simon, my boyfriend, like he's a big hip hop like nerd guy. And so I wouldn't say that I necessarily have a big knowledge of it, but I think that it's like the fucking Simpsons, right? Like you don't even realize that you know so much about these things because it's just part of culture.
Right.
In so many ways, right?
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like I was listening to it and I was like, oh, like even not really knowing, I kind of know like, oh, what this like sample is, or oh, this sound, or oh, this like rhythm that she's picking up, or oh, this like way that she's doing this like ode to New Orleans sound versus like California versus like whatever, which I think is really really impeccable. Yeah.
I love, so I found her Tiny Desk, and I think like the first 10, 12, 13 minutes or something like that, they just keep going, and it's jazz.
Oh, okay.
It's just jazz. It is stunning. Like the way that they flow between songs is like, I feel like
what I loved about the album.
So the album, so it's okay. Now here's where we're going to get into the like, I don't know what I'm talking about kind of zone. Yeah. So, and actually, let me get.
We're here to learn together.
We're all here to learn together.
That is the point of an artist study.
Well, and I think it's funny too because it's like industry specific, right? Yeah. Like, so her album, which is not an album, and I want to get the Alligator Bites Never Heal, is a mixtape.
Oh.
From my understanding in the industry, is a mixtape has more rules.
Okay.
Of what that is. And I the way I hear people talk about it is like, it's like, you know what it, what's the like definition of porn? It's kind of like that. It's like it's hard to describe, but you know it when you see it kind of thing. That's my understanding of people's understanding of an album versus a mixtape. What I'm talking about right now, I have no idea.
Okay.
But my understanding is it has more structure. It has a blueprint to it. And what I think she's really good. Wait, what the fuck were you just saying before I started going on about this?
Like the transitions between the
transitions.
songs.
Yeah. So the way that she had initially structured, well, one, she was working on an album for her record, and she called him up one day and she said, I can't do this anymore. Like, I am making music. She was making music for TikTok. She was like doing really well with the, like, you know, I guess like people have been talking about like TikTok music too is like the new, what do you call it? Like Walgreens, CVS artists as well, right?
Okay.
Because it's like, oh, you can do well. Like there's people have been talking about like there's no like one hit wonders anymore. Right? Because you'll make a song, but if you have the rest of the album to go out, like you can kind of do you can like, you know, like the Lola Young gal. Right? Like she had her song, so she's like been promoting and touring with it and stuff like that. Okay. Which also I do think she's talented, but anyway. Not to say that like TikTok music is bad, but it has a formula. It's just like a way. Yeah. So yeah, she was making a record and she called up her album and she was like, I make music for me. 1 second.
Ooh.
Sneeze, something. She was like, I need to make music for me. And so I'm not following this formula. And the way that, you know, I think this is true for an album too. It's like, you know, you put your hits at the top, you know, you have your like B-sides, you know, maybe in the middle, you have your, you know, your closers at the end, whatever.
Yeah.
But she was like, I'm going to tell this story the way that it actually happened. Like, I'm going to let this unfold. And so that we can celebrate and party at the end the way it actually happened.
Yeah.
I love that.
Like yes, exactly. It feels very like sound diary to me.
Yeah.
Like oral, like what, like, oh my God, what is that? What am I saying?
I mean, I know like she's and this was, I think it was like a 2019 hit of hers was like inspired by, it literally was a journal entry from when she was doing The Artist Way.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. I know. Isn't that
How
great?
Perfect for the first artist study.
I know. I saw that. It was so cute.
Yeah, like oracle, like, oh my God, what? Like oral storytelling. Like, what is that? I don't know. There's a term for it where like you're passing down stories orally. It's kind of what it feels like. She's like, well, I'm going to tell you a tale.
Well, and
I'm going to sit you down.
I think what's so cool about that is like her vulnerability is, I think, extremely
100%.
Like, yes. Well, and it's interesting too because it's like the more specificity, you know, the more specific you are as an artist breeds universality. And it's like she talks very specifically, like that record too is about her being a dark-skinned sober woman and like her sobriety and like dealing with that and dealing with her life and you know how fucking crazy the last, you know, 5 years were for everybody, but like very specifically
and queer
too. Yes, and queer and like that.
You're not
like, but we're
guessing.
All getting something. No, you're not guessing.
You're not guessing.
Yes. I love that you said that because I think as a storyteller, what I think part of it makes it so captivating is there's so much going on. Yeah. Like the fashion. She's not like, I don't want to say she's spoon feeding us, but I would say she's not being coy, I guess. Right? Like she's being quite blunt. She's being quite,
this is who I am.
This is who I fucking am. And so I think that shows up in the choreography. I think that shows up in her fashion. I think that shows up in, oh my God, the NPR Tiny Desk is all fucking women on stage. Like that's stunning.
Wow.
That's amazing. You know, like down to her band, down to her like producers. There's no, you know where she stands. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Because there's usually like a level of like, and I guess maybe this is kind of a I keep touching my eye and I feel like I need to acknowledge it. There's been something in my eye.
Do you need a moment?
I need a moment.
Okay.
We're going to take a brief.
I'm going to edit this out.
Out of my eye.
Maybe I won't. Maybe we don't. Maybe I don't edit the.
I thought that was the point of these.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So we're taking a moment.
Pause. The behind the stage stuff is uncut. You get the real life.
Okay, I love that for me.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I love that for me.
We're in a green room.
Yeah.
We're having a turkey sandwich in between scenes.
What do you think's going to be on our rider? What do you think's on Doechii's rider?
Oh, I don't know. You know what I was learning about?
No, it's on my rider. Perrier.
Yes. Wait, do you know what I was learning about? Natalie Wood in that movie, that famous movie that she's in, that she's like plays the
where she died. Didn't she die during the making of a movie? No.
Wait, was it during that one? Oh, I don't know.
No, because she fell off a boat, right? This is so not what we're talking about. Anyway,
everyone says that her husband killed her.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think she she fell off a boat.
Whatever. Okay. Point is that she had a really interesting writer for that famous movie that I can't think of right now, where she like plays like the housewife girlfriend. Oh my God. I can't remember the name, but you know what was on it? It was that she was off when she was on her period. Like they were not allowed to film.
Word.
She had to have like some skin oil sent over from Asia.
Yeah. I like it.
She had to specifically have white cigarette holders.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Like, all of these like very specific things. And I was like, Phoebe.
Yeah. Oh, was that what you sent me this morning?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. That's funny.
The writer, it was you, but also the scene of what she's playing is you. But anyways, whoa. My eye is better.
Your eye's better, and we're not cutting. We're not editing these.
Description of like, oh, that's what I was going to say. Is like, maybe it's like almost like the weirdly like the timing of it or something for like her to like pop off. I like don't know when that happened or like why she's like famous now, right? But obviously she's good.
She's been doing this for a minute. Like she's not new.
Right.
But and also she has undoubtedly like received critical success from her being brave as fuck. Like being vulnerable and throwing the formula out the door.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's great. But I think something that kind of happens with like when you get fame into like making art, right, is like we start to get the sense of like mystery. Like what are they talking about? What did they go through?
Yeah, like
who
the
are
Taylor
they?
Swift of
like,
it all.
Yeah, like what's happening? You know, like the lore kind of thing, or like even with like the Adele album, everyone's like, oh, her divorce. Like what is the song about?
Yeah,
is this when she met what's his face? Like you know her new guy or whatever. And so I think like there's something quite compelling, right? Obviously, like what we're saying about just like. No. I'm going to just tell you literally everything.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just put it all out there. There is no secret thing to keep you hooked.
Yeah.
Like here it is. Yeah. You know, like.
And I want to say like everything that I'm saying right now as far as formula, like this is like, I have a couple of quotes here that I think you're going to die because they're stunning.
Oh my God. I'm so excited.
So one of her quotes is, I've decided to create and complete for me and me only. She does not care about the audience. Right. And this was my favorite. I make my best work when no one cares and when no one listens, but I can't make music from that place because I'm not telling that truth. I can't, speaking about like formulas. And she talks about like, if you're making music for a formula, which all of it is, I was saying this too, but we're talking about like stand up the other day.
Right.
Everything is, you can run through, AI is just recipes, whatever. That's a whole other thing. Anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna get distracted thinking about AI and formulas now. Anyway, everything's a pattern, right?
Right.
But like and she says like if you're making music for the pattern, you're diluting your message. You're not gonna get to your story.
Yeah.
And I just think that is so, it's brave in 1,000 different ways. One of them being just like being vulnerable. I think especially about sobriety in the world,
in a very
but
specific
also in the industry
place too. Yeah, in a very specific place. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
What I think is okay. So that's like kind of her philosophy around making, and she has a very this again in her own words. She has like her formula, her blueprint. It requires honesty, detail, and abnormal production, which I think comes back. Isn't that so cool? Which I think comes back to her references again, like on Denial is a River, that like what people kind of anxiety attack, that like breathing pattern that she's doing at the end there, is oh my God, what's his name? beatboxer, Doechii, I wrote it down. Dougie Fresh, like beatboxing patterns. So like even in like she's so
is it
so
stylized?
referential.
Like is that yeah. Okay, I see. Yeah. Oh,
And
cool.
I think what makes you can tell like she's such a nerd, and pulling these things from all of these different places is so fascinating to me because it like exists in the world. Like she's like she fucking cares about her medium, you know, and she cares about.
She's like writing a love letter
context,
to the context.
Truly,
Yeah.
She cares about the context that these things exist in.
And I think attention.
You have to pay attention.
Yeah.
And I think that comes back to her fashion too. Like when she was talking, you know, the Tom Brown. I think Tom Brown did her Grammys looks.
Yeah.
But also like with her performances, I think she was wearing Gucci on Colbert. Like she's wearing these very like luxurious for sure, but I also think like studious, right? Like collegiate.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed. I'm like, what is this like like theme like that we're exploring here?
And so that was again like she was thinking about oh my god, names today are just not coming. The names. Jay-Z, when Jay-Z like put on a suit, she was like, when did rap become luxurious again, right? And I think if you look at like, you know, 80s, 90s, even like before that, but 80s, 90s, like hip hop, you know, it was all about the street. Yeah. But then she's like, you know, like when did it become luxurious, and especially whatever. This is so hard to not go into like a fucking history of hip hop like all the time because she's so referential.
Yeah.
Like, and it's so deep. And I also think that comes up too, like when she talks about like her performances as well.
Yeah, I was thinking about the sense of like, because I noticed that too, like this kind of like student thing, and I was like, is she trying to tell us like she's a student?
Like she'll use these words. She'll be like, when I am studying hip hop, like, and that's where the Jay-Z, like, she's like, oh, when Jay-Z like put on a suit and started like walking the runway in like the early aughts, like that's what I'm doing here. I want my work to be prestigious. I want my work to be taken seriously, and I think that also just kind of comes around with like what people think of as like with rap and hip hop now being like a not serious art form.
Oh, interesting.
In that people like, you're like, oh, if I want to say something, let me write a country song. You know, if I want to say something, like it needs to be a ballad. It needs to be like a rock ballad.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off. You were going to say something else.
No, I just think that like, I don't know. Like, I find that interesting. Like I don't know if I don't know if maybe it's just like my lack of like maybe like music knowledge or like whatever, but I would think, maybe this is me coming from America, but I would think that if you have something to say, you're a hip hop artist.
Well,
like,
but that's definitely where the genre started, right?
Yeah.
But I guess
you're saying like top the charts with something to say kind of thing, like get a number one song.
I mean, look at like
or
trap
whatever.
music right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't think people are taking I wouldn't say that like people aren't taking, maybe like seriously is the wrong word, but like this is again artful or earnesty. Like earnestness. Right? Like
Earnesty.
you're not gonna and like I love Cardi B, but from my understanding of her music, like, it's not always like the most soulful, right?
Yeah.
But like Lauryn Hill is, you know?
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
That's just, I'm like,
again with our limited. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Cool.
And
I
again,
love that she's
those are her words as
from the South.
Yeah.
Like Florida, right? Because I also find that interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of great artists everywhere. But like, is she from like rural Florida?
I don't know exactly where she's from in Florida, but I think it's funny you bring that because place is obviously very important to her, right? I think you're right. I think it is Orlando.
Weird.
Tampa.
Oh, she's from Tampa. Oh, that makes sense. Weird things happen in Florida. Weird shit.
Well, and
weird
I think
shit. Have you ever seen an alligator? Have you ever seen one?
I went on an alligator tour when I was in Florida.
When you went to Florida on the Florida trip?
Maybe when I was in New Orleans.
How close have you gotten like in a boat?
Like a man was like, do you want to give it a hot dog? And I was like, hard pass. Like, no, I don't want to give an alligator a fucking hot dog.
No. I've been on those like the low country, like, have you seen cows? Have you seen an alligator eat a cow?
No.
That's crazy.
When are they doing that? Just out and about?
In Florida. They're eating cows.
So
like,
Florida,
wild cows too, not like getting in on like a farm, like wild cows, like in like swamps.
No.
Yeah, I've seen them.
I don't want that.
I've literally seen them.
Well, okay. To your point, I think what you're place is very important to her,
and
right?
there's almost like sorry, I'm like getting so excited.
No, I mean, like, I'm not from the States, and I have learned a lot about Florida from her music, like boiled peanuts, for example. Yeah. And I was talking to a friend who is from Orlando, and she was like, "Oh yeah, side of the road in Florida,
peanuts.
You get a bag of boiled peanuts. You're gonna be there soon."
Yeah, I am.
You might be there when this comes out.
Every single time I go to Florida.
You love to go to Florida too. You go to Florida a lot.
I go to Florida. My dad lives in Florida.
Jacqueline loves Florida.
Florida. I'm going to put that on the record for anyone listening in the United States. I don't love Florida. There's some pretty parts of Florida. In general, though, I don't really understand why Florida is considered like, it's like a vacation place everybody goes. Obviously, it's like south and it's like nice weather, whatever, right? But no, when I go and I see my dad, we go on these like river like things to see alligators, etc. Manatees one time. Lots of wildlife.
Oh my God.
It's a mystical place. It's like, okay, so that's what I was going to say. The mysticism. I feel like you can hear, which I think is like a Southern, obviously, like thing, right?
I love that you said that because a word when I was doing, I've had this like episode in my head for months. Yeah. I did research for it in all of, like, I've just been, this is what I do when I'm sitting at my computer. Like, I've just been watching interviews. Like, oh, that's what I say when I fall in for this person. Like, I think
it's your personality.
Yeah. That's what happens to me, right? Like, I listen to music until I fucking hate it. Again, right? Like, yeah. And it's the only thing I've been listening to. Sorry if you've come to one of my classes recently, because it's just like, I'll be like, we're doing like high rep, like white lady Pilates stuff. And then like, I literally have like Nissan Altima on. And they're like, oh my God. I'm like, it is what it is. Everyone get on board.
And we're also like slaying with like swords. Yeah. All of your like
I was telling Jacqueline, that's just the name of a Pilates move.
That's who you are.
Swords. Also. Yes. Also that. But I love that you said mysticism, because I think whimsy is a word that comes up a lot when people talk about it. And I think, you know what I was thinking about? Have you seen her Colbert choreography performance? Okay, we're going to watch. I was like, do we watch it right now? We're not going to live.
The people.
Yeah. We'll do it later.
Live.
But like her choreography is, it's otherworldly. Yeah. Right? Like the way that she moves, and also she choreographs a lot of her own stuff too. Really? She fired her choreographer for her Colbert performance. We're gonna watch
the Grammys though, and that was crazy.
That I don't know who choreographed that, but that was stunning. Yeah. But I think that's really apparent. Like her physicality is important to her, and it's not of this world. Like I feel like that's the best way you can kind of put, but it's also very rigid and grounded. But I guess that's what whimsy and mysticism is.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, like, of course. It's like, yeah.
Yes. I'm getting distracted by my own notes right now because I love Doechii. So I was going to say like place is important. We talked about place. We talked about like, these are kind of her rules, right? And I think what I think is really cool about her is she knows herself so well as an artist. She knows that what's important to her. She knows where to write from. She knows what she wants to say, and doubles down on that even when it's hard. Right? Oh yeah. Which is
even when it's hard. To not compromise those things or to do the hard thing, to keep like integrity with yourself. Yeah. And like what you need. Yeah.
I have to figure out how to not just like quote this entire interview right here, but she talks about rap having a heart and not wanting to be codependent with her label and people's opinions and approval. And I think she talks a lot about...
That's a sober gal.
That is a sober gal.
That's a sober bitch.
When I saw that, when I saw that, I was like, Jacqueline's gonna love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. She wants to not be codependent on her label and their advice and their feedback.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And making for people's approval.
Yep. That's amazing.
I'm having like an emotion, like a feeling to that.
Whew.
Isn't that crazy? Mm. And I think like knowing that about yourself is so like brave to do as an artist, right? Yeah. Like knowing that you're like, hey, I actually just made something because I want somebody else to like me is a very hard thing to admit to yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What an interesting place to like, you know, because like I think like to pop onto the scene with all this shit like locked in, like with all this shit like figured out, like because it's like where does she like of course she keeps making music, but it's like where do you, because that's something I think about as an artist a lot, right? Is I'm like, you know, the whole like trope of like if I'm well then like what do I you know what I mean, like what do I talk about, what do I make, like where does it come from, you know, like where's like the source of the thing, and you know she sounds pretty like figured out. Well, do you know what I mean? Or like, not that we're figured out, but you know what I'm saying.
I think everything to her is fuel.
Yes. Like, oh my God. Okay. Yes.
I think everything to her is fuel. Yes, like I think critics' response is fuel. I think that's apparent in that song. I think it's Boom Bap. Like she's taking like when she goes rapidy rap.
Yeah. So good.
That is amazing.
That's funny.
That is amazing.
I think that's what I got to, and then I stopped.
Yeah. Like it's
I'm excited to listen to the rest of it now.
Yeah,
because I haven't fully listened.
Yeah, it's I'm a woman in love.
Yeah.
I think everything to her is fuel, including, so she has a couple. So I think what are like the Doechii rules? We figured out place is important to her. Knowing your own formula is important, and knowing when you're making for other people and denouncing that is important. But I also think archetype, costume. I mean, you know, she's a performer, so she has this kind of like persona of the swamp princess, right? This like gal from Florida, you know, elevated Florida girl. Yeah. But then she also has a persona called Ricardo. And Ricardo is her response to what people call, I guess, critics. I think is just
men.
Racism and well, like misogynoir, right? Disgusting. Yeah. So she is this drag persona called Ricardo, who is like this prosthetics drag king. Oh my gosh. And it's like that is her response to, like, that's what I mean when everything's fuel. It's like, cool, you're gonna say that about me? Like, I'm gonna make art from that. Yeah. Like, here I go.
Yeah.
I know. Wow. What else do I want to say about Doechii? I'm going through.
These are the artists that I feel like, you know, the artists that are just kind of like, I don't want to like compare Doechii to Bob Dylan right now, but I also think that,
no, I love that. Keep going.
I also think that like that's kind of the same thing. Like Bob Dylan, like. And I only know this because I watched
You're Complete kind of Unknown. Right. Well, but Bob Dylan in like the 60s versus Bob Dylan in the 80s and 90s is like, what the fuck is that? Like his blues albums are insane.
Yeah. What the hell is that? And like, I think something that I feel like I learned from A Complete Unknown when I saw this film, Timothée Chalamet and everyone involved, great job. I was like, oh, like he is literally just here to like keep making shit. Like the thing that like they did so well was just like he is not going to stop. Like he's just going to make the next song and he's just going to make the next song. He's just going to make the next song. He started making money and his apartment didn't change. He would buy this like crazy piece of art that was a lot of money, but he still's living in like the villa. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, kind of, like just making and making and like making and making, and he would have an experience and write and like do a thing and write. And like, and that's what I think so I feel like it's like the same thing. It's like fuel. It's like this person is like using everything around them all the time. I think that's great.
She starts off her Zane Lowe interview. She goes, "Don't let the jumpsuit fool you. I'm hungry." And her ambition is like unmatched. matched, I think. And I think that's really, and this is another quote I have from her. She was like, I'm hungry. I want to be the best. If I have 2 days, if I have 24 hours, I'm going to work the hardest.
Yeah.
And that was how that Colbert performance like came about. I think she said she had 5 days total. She fired her choreographer halfway through.
Wow.
Just because, and it wasn't, dramatic. It just wasn't making sense to me. So then she redid it. Like, and I think so many artists can kind of go status quo. They can say, even when they get to that level, right? It's like, okay, cool. I have my paycheck. Yeah. I have my house in LA.
Yeah.
Right. Like, or cool. I have commercial success in some way. Let me not rock the boat.
Right.
But I think when you're sober, I think so many things, right? But well, you and I. Well, this is what I mean.
Yes. When we're in recovery.
Universality, right? Like, I relate to part of that story from hers.
Course.
And like, I relate to feeling, I think we all can in some way. Like, we can all relate to feeling out of place. We can all relate to feeling out of control. We can all relate to not dealing with our emotions. Like, we can all relate to, self-soothing our way there. And I think that's really hard to do if you've, in any position. I think that's really hard to do if you're trying really hard and you've got nothing and you just want to pay your fucking bills. And I think it's really hard to do when you're like, okay, well, I made it here based on like previous criteria. Like, let me not fuck anything up, right?
Yeah. Yes. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Interesting.
Yeah.
Does she talk about fame at all? I mean, obviously she says I'm ambitious, but does she talk about like,
I don't.
Because those annoying questions that interviews do, and they're like, "So now you're here and you have all this. Now what kind of thing?" Like, has she?
Well, I think because she just got the Grammy, I think that's what's coming, right? And she has been like promoting and touring this thing, but I think also that started like I think that's what this album's about, really. Like, she got her TikTok, like she was making her TikTok music. She was getting. And this is the other thing too I love about like her performance is, and what you were saying too, she's not what's the opposite of obvious? I guess she is obvious. Like she's not here, like she's not being cloudy, whatever we decided that criteria was. Is like there will be the old white man executives like play like in her music video, like, and she's like pointing at them being like, they fucked up my life.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's kind of, we're getting that right now.
Right. Like, or like, it's like the Chapel Roan getting up and being like, give everyone healthcare. Like that kind of thing. Like, let's like have like the actual conversation or whatever and bring that into the art. Yeah. Interesting.
I'm just trying to decide if there's anything else. Yeah. I think the ambition was the thing that I wanted to close out on. Cause I think Doechii's one of those artists that if we weren't here listening, she would be making the same stuff.
Yes. And I
think that's like the biggest takeaway. I think we can all, what I feel like personally is like, because I catch myself doing, I think that's the thing I relate to the most. And it's like, I catch myself, especially when there's a formula. We can go plug in this, plug in that. Here we go. I was saying this to somebody a bit ago. I was like, I feel like I know how to make anything go viral because it's just...
It's a formula.
A plus B equals C.
Yeah. It's formula plus like timing. Yeah.
Asterisks.
Etc.
Yeah. Anyway, that's Doechii. I'm in love.
Well, go down the hole.
Go down the
rabbit hole with Phoebe.
I highly recommend. I mean, maybe I'll find a quote. But what quote have I not used? Do you like my research? It's insane. I'm just trying to think of which one I love. I think the codependent.
That's wild.
I don't want to make.
That's
I don't
crazy.
want to be codependent to my record.
That's wild. I love it.
I'm looking for another one.
Do we know the definition of codependency, folks?
Do you want to educate us?
I mean, I don't know. That feels like a lot.
Yeah, that's another episode.
That was another episode. But that's to not say like, like to specifically say, what I'm saying is like to specifically say codependent and not beholden.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like I'm, you know, I'm being, what's the word, like marionette puppet by the like by the big, you know, industry or whatever. But to specifically say codependent is interesting to me. Yeah.
I think to close this out, my favorite is she has this, and I think it was going around last week. She has like these YouTube vlog entries of when she first moved to LA in 2020. And I think that's when her label dropped her. I don't really understand what the like thing was happening in 20. She like got success. So like, I think her label dropped her.
Because of the pandemic,
you know, going through it. I think this was like 2021 kind of thing. Like she moved to 2020 is a weird time for us all. Like trying to fact check these things.
Early 2020s, late 2020, very different. Like very different. March or November.
Well, it's funny. I was looking at my phone the other day and it was like February 2020. I was like, what the fuck was I doing? I was like, right, the world was different then.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But she has these like old YouTube vlog entries and she, you know, she's sitting in her house. It was going around last week. I don't know if you saw it. No. It was like, you know, I just got fired. And then it's like, you know, her Grammy speech. But anyway, there's another one of her like vlog entries where she's sitting in her house. She's got this fucking like heart filter around her head or something like that. Maybe it's an Instagram live. I don't know. Yeah. I think it's one of her YouTubes. Anyway, one of her YouTubes. Oh my God. Anyway.
One of her YouTube videos.
One of her YouTubes. But she says, I've decided to create and complete for me. And like, I love that. It's like, no more. I've decided.
And complete for me. That's lovely.
I know. Anyway. Well, thanks for listening to our first artist study.
Listen to Doechii, everyone.
Go listen to Doechii. I don't know if she needs
listen to Doechii,
endorsement.
but listen to Doechii is what I'm saying.
Oh, yes.
I'm saying listen to what she's saying.
I think it's rare for me that there's somebody, I would maybe put her on the level of like David Lynch, like somebody whose work I love as much as I love the things that they have to say outside of their work. Like that, I don't always love what an artist I love chats, you know?
Right.
Or maybe like
which I think
I agree with.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Which is good. Yeah. Cause that's going to be part of this too. Is like, I think when we do artist free falls, artist studies, whatever we want to call them, we're going to bring people we love, people we can learn from, but also we're going to bring people that we're like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah. And like, sometimes I think that can fall into the realm of like, you know, do 40 push-ups, do a nice bath.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, highly unrelatable things.
Well, just even this thing of like, I would love to, you know, go down this thing together of like art being inherently good.
Oh, yeah.
I think we have to talk about that more in general as artists of how like, you're not just a good person because you're an artist.
Yeah, the Third Reich. Hey, the right has artists too.
Yeah, like
which actually there is a really great FD. I think it's an FD Signifier video who talks about like why the right has shitty artists. But that's another topic for another day.
Come back next time for everything we're talking about. We'll join you in the green room.
Yes, thanks for hanging us within the green room, and our also, you know, we're in person.
Yeah,
I know you're here. You're not a screen. Anyway, who is that girl I see?
Miming? Remember?
Staring straight. What?
Miming. We were miming. Never mind.
We weren't. That was just hands. We were literally touching. But anyway, okay, we gotta go. We're done. Bye.